We're here today to examine a monument to American ingenuity, the Panama.
The Panama Canal, a testament to American ingenuity, has long served as a vital artery for global trade, seamlessly linking the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. However, a growing crisis threatens to disrupt its operations, sending shockwaves through the international economy. Former President Donald Trump has repeatedly asserted that the United States should reclaim control of the canal, arguing that Panama has violated its treaty obligations by allowing Chinese interests to operate within the waterway. He claims that Panama's promise to remain neutral has been broken, jeopardizing both U.S. national security and global shipping stability. While the political controversy unfolds, a far more alarming issue has surfaced, one that could reshape the future of maritime commerce. What initially appeared to be minor operational disturbances in the canal's lock system has now escalated into a full-blown engineering crisis. Subtle vibrations, once dismissed as routine noise, have intensified, raising serious concerns among engineers and maritime experts. As the Panama Canal Authority, PCA, investigated the phenomenon, they deployed state-of-the-art underwater drones to probe the depths of the canal. Their findings were nothing short of catastrophic. Hairline fractures were discovered spreading through critical infrastructure, potentially foreshadowing a major structural failure. However, these anomalies were not mere signs of wear and tear, they indicated the presence of something far more ominous lurking beneath the canal's waters. The Panama Canal's importance to global trade cannot be overstated. Handling over 5% of all maritime commerce, it serves as a crucial passage for billions of dollars worth of cargo every day. As reports of possible infrastructure compromises emerged, global markets reacted with anxiety. Shipping companies braced for potential disruptions, while governments worldwide closely monitored the unfolding situation. With engineering teams racing against time, a groundbreaking discovery sent further shockwaves through the crisis, a previously undetected tectonic fault line beneath the canal. This revelation raised critical questions about the geological stability of the entire region, challenging long-held assumptions about the canal's structural resilience and long-term sustainability. Recognizing the severity of the situation, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers was swiftly deployed to conduct an independent assessment. Their involvement underscored just how grave and unprecedented the crisis had become. Meanwhile, shipping companies began considering alternative routes, many of which would be significantly longer and costlier, reminiscent of the pre-canal era when vessels were forced to navigate around South America's treacherous Cape Horn. The uncertainty surrounding the canal's stability cast a shadow over international trade, fueling speculation about the economic consequences should the waterway become unusable. Yet, the crisis deepened even further when advanced monitoring equipment revealed something far more astonishing: the presence of ancient structures beneath the canal, hidden for centuries. The implications of this discovery extend beyond engineering concerns, opening the door to historical and archaeological mysteries that could reshape our understanding of the region's past. While engineers struggled to maintain operations and mitigate immediate risks, their technical analysis exposed a network of stress patterns that defied conventional engineering logic. The fractures were not isolated, they formed a complex, interconnected matrix that suggested a looming structural failure. Geological experts, equipped with seismic monitoring technology, mapped an intricate web of fault lines running beneath the canal. Their research indicated that these tectonic movements were not random, they were part of a larger, previously unknown geological system that had somehow evaded detection for decades. Even more concerning, stress tests revealed that critical support structures were operating dangerously close to their theoretical limits. Every passing vessel now represented a calculated risk, heightening fears of an imminent engineering disaster. Real-time monitoring systems continued to raise red flags, indicating that the structural integrity issues were dynamic, not static. Each day, engineers observed fluctuations, one section appearing stable while another showed new signs of stress and shifting patterns. The canal's lock system, once celebrated as a marvel of engineering precision, now exhibited vulnerabilities that defied traditional repair approaches. As global markets, shipping industries, and world leaders closely monitored the evolving situation, the question shifted from how to fix the canal's current problems to whether the entire foundation of global maritime trade might need to be reassessed. The crisis facing the Panama Canal is no longer just about infrastructure, it is a geopolitical, economic, and historical puzzle that could forever change the future of global commerce. Companies across the globe began receiving technical briefings that forced them to confront an unsettling reality: the operational parameters of the Panama Canal were being revised downward, drastically impacting global maritime logistics. Vessels that once navigated the canal with ease now faced stringent new restrictions, backed by undeniable engineering data. As the technical challenges became clearer, the economic consequences began to cascade through global markets, transforming what had initially been an engineering crisis into a looming economic catastrophe. The shockwaves rippled through global commerce, with major shipping companies rerouting vessels around South America's Cape Horn, a route that added weeks to travel times and sent transportation costs soaring. This disruption created a complex web of supply chain failures, impacting industries from consumer electronics to essential medical supplies. Economists, closely monitoring the unfolding crisis, began drawing alarming comparisons to the Suez Canal crisis, but with one key difference: this was not just a temporary blockage, but a potential long-term instability of one of the world's most critical trade arteries. As uncertainty deepened, insurance companies began revising their risk assessments, leading to higher premiums that sent further shockwaves through maritime commerce. The real-time economic consequences soon became tangible, with ports from Singapore to Rotterdam experiencing unprecedented congestion as shipping companies scrambled to adjust their logistics networks. The effects extended far beyond maritime trade, reaching automotive plants facing part shortages, retail giants warning of inventory delays, and energy markets preparing for disruptions in fuel transportation. Analysts painted increasingly dire scenarios, warning that the long-term disruption of the Panama Canal could reshape global trade in ways not seen in over a century. Markets that once relied on the canal's dependability were now grappling with the very real possibility that it might no longer be a reliable passage. In boardrooms worldwide, emergency meetings became the norm as companies scrambled to develop contingency plans. Executives faced an urgent and troubling question: how do you maintain business continuity when one of the world's most vital trade arteries appears to be on the brink of failure? As the economic dominoes continued to fall, a new challenge emerged: the geopolitical fallout of the crisis. The Panama Canal crisis had escalated beyond a local engineering failure, evolving into a global commerce emergency. Container ships, once flowing effortlessly through the waterway, now hesitated, their decisions rippling across the global economy. Supply chain managers, once confident in their logistical networks, now watched them unravel in real time. Major retailers, alarmed by the extent of disruptions, warned that this was not just a temporary setback, it was a fundamental restructuring of global supply chains that had taken decades to build. Manufacturing hubs in Asia, long reliant on stable trans-Pacific routes, now faced the harsh reality of significantly extended shipping times. The impact rippled through every stage of the supply chain, from raw materials to finished goods. Stock markets worldwide reacted with volatility, as shipping and logistics stocks experienced wild price swings, reflecting the market's growing uncertainty. Investors feared this was not just an immediate crisis, but a long-term shift in global trade patterns, a scenario that could undermine economic growth for years to come. With global supply chains still recovering from past disruptions, this crisis threatened to trigger a new wave of shortages and price surges. Industry analysts, tracking key economic indicators, watched as inventory levels dropped and transportation costs soared, raising an urgent question: could the modern global trade system withstand such prolonged instability? As alternative shipping routes were seriously evaluated, another harsh truth emerged: there were no perfect solutions. Rerouting vessels around Cape Horn, once considered a last resort, had become a necessity, transforming this treacherous passage into a crucial lifeline for global commerce. Yet, this was more than just longer shipping times, it was about the profound reshaping of economic relationships that had defined the modern world. Industry experts outlined scenarios ranging from concerning to catastrophic, as shipping costs soared and commodity markets reacted with panic. The increased fuel consumption required for these longer voyages raised environmental concerns, introducing a climate dimension to an already complex crisis. Ports worldwide, from Singapore's maritime hub to Long Beach's container terminals and Rotterdam's sprawling port facilities, reported severe congestion, as vessels adjusted to new, inefficient routing patterns. The domino effect of delays intensified, creating a ripple impact throughout the entire global shipping network. Alarmingly, smaller economies bore the brunt of the disruption. While major trading nations could absorb some of the economic shock, developing countries, reliant on efficient maritime trade, faced grave consequences. The increased cost and extended delivery times threatened essential supply lines, impacting everything from medical equipment to food security. Stock markets worldwide shifted from initial shock to sustained concern, as shipping indexes displayed volatility reminiscent of past global crises. But this time, there was a crucial difference. This was not just a temporary disruption. This had the potential to fundamentally alter global trade operations, forcing companies and governments to rethink the sustainability of modern supply chains. As the world grappled with these far-reaching economic implications, attention turned to an even more urgent challenge: the race against time to find engineering solutions before the crisis spiraled completely out of control. The fight to stabilize the Panama Canal was no longer just about infrastructure, it was about preserving the stability of the global economy itself. Under the mounting pressure of global economic disruption, an unprecedented engineering operation is unfolding at the Panama Canal. This is no longer just about fixing cracks, it is about reinventing infrastructure on a massive scale. The ongoing repair efforts represent the most ambitious maritime engineering project since the canal's original construction, with teams working around the clock in a desperate race against time. Advanced AI-powered monitoring systems, drawing from thousands of sensors, now track every microscopic shift in the canal's structure, providing real-time data that would have been unimaginable just a decade ago. What makes this truly remarkable is the integration of predictive analytics with hands-on engineering, allowing for proactive interventions rather than reactive repairs. The scale of the challenge is staggering. Engineers are not just patching issues, but implementing groundbreaking solutions that could redefine maritime infrastructure. Specialized underwater drones, equipped with advanced materials technology, now perform precision repairs in conditions too hazardous for human divers, working with microscopic accuracy guided by precision control systems. Initial timeline projections, once optimistic, now paint a sobering picture. Engineers continuously uncover new complications, where fixing one issue often reveals several more. This has turned into a high-stakes technological game, with global trade hanging in the balance. The financial implications are equally staggering. Initial cost estimates have been revised repeatedly, reaching figures that dwarf even the canal's original construction costs, adjusted for inflation. The budget now factors in not just direct repairs, but also cutting-edge technology deployment, research and development, and the implementation of long-term monitoring systems. The indirect economic impact of reduced canal capacity further escalates costs, sending shockwaves through governments and investors alike. Yet, amidst this crisis, a technological revolution in maritime engineering is accelerating at unprecedented speed. Technologies that were theoretical months ago are now being fast-tracked into development, including AI-driven repair drones that operate in synchronized swarms, capable of performing complex repairs in conditions far too dangerous for human intervention. These AI-driven systems, which learn and adapt in real time, represent a quantum leap in infrastructure maintenance capabilities. Yet, the most unforgiving resource remains time. Engineers are battling not only physical deterioration but also the compounding economic impact. Each day of reduced canal capacity translates into billions in global losses. Timeline projections, initially manageable, now reflect a more complex reality where geological forces and human engineering capabilities collide in unprecedented ways. Perhaps the most fascinating aspect of this crisis is the emergence of new engineering methodologies. Traditional infrastructure repair approaches are being completely reimagined. Teams are developing adaptive repair strategies, integrating self-healing materials that can adjust to stress patterns. This is no longer just about fixing the current crisis, it is about revolutionizing infrastructure maintenance on a global scale. As engineering teams race against time, deploying solutions that push technological boundaries, a broader question looms: what does this crisis mean for the future of global infrastructure and our ability to maintain it in an increasingly unpredictable world? Beyond the immediate engineering challenges, environmental scientists are raising urgent alarms that extend far beyond the Panama Canal. What is unfolding is not just an infrastructure failure, but a stark preview of how climate change threatens to fundamentally reshape global trade routes. The crisis has exposed vulnerabilities that can no longer be ignored, forcing humanity to confront harsh realities about its dependence on fragile ecosystems. The Panama Canal's watershed, once a triumph of ecological engineering, now tells a cautionary tale. Lake Gatun and Lake Alajuela, the lifeblood of the canal, are exhibiting stress patterns that defy a century of engineering assumptions. Each vessel passing through the locks requires millions of gallons of fresh water, a resource now growing increasingly scarce as climate patterns shift unpredictably. The sophisticated water management systems, long hailed as a testament to human ingenuity, now struggle against nature's changing rhythms, forcing engineers to grapple with scenarios their predecessors never imagined. Simultaneously, the geopolitical landscape is shifting as dramatically as the environmental one. Nations worldwide are being forced to recalibrate trade strategies, reconsider maritime dependencies, and invest in alternative infrastructure solutions. The Panama Canal crisis has become more than just a localized engineering problem. It is a warning about the fragility of global trade and the urgent need for resilient infrastructure in a world increasingly shaped by climate uncertainties. Strategic interests are forging new alliances and deepening rivalries, echoing historical power shifts. China's Belt and Road Initiative has taken on unprecedented urgency, while Russia intensifies its focus on Arctic shipping routes with each passing day. The United States, meanwhile, is navigating an increasingly complex diplomatic landscape, balancing its historical ties to the Panama Canal with the emerging dynamics of global power distribution. On Wall Street, financial analysts are modeling scenarios that seemed implausible just months ago. The global supply chain is not just experiencing disruption but undergoing a fundamental transformation. Major corporations are abandoning decades-old just-in-time inventory systems, while emerging economies grapple with the very real prospect of being cut off from crucial trade arteries. The economic ripple effects extend from consumer electronics to global food security, forcing a re-evaluation of economic models that have underpinned international trade for generations. Infrastructure experts worldwide are watching with mounting concern as similar vulnerabilities emerge across critical maritime installations. The Panama Canal crisis, once viewed as an isolated event, has evolved into a global warning beacon, highlighting the fragility of vital infrastructure. From Southeast Asia's bustling ports to Europe's sophisticated coastal facilities, the spectre of climate-induced disruptions looms ever larger. As humanity grapples with these interconnected challenges, a new paradigm is emerging, one where the predictability of global trade is being replaced by a future defined by adaptation, resilience, and the recognition that nature's power ultimately shapes economic destiny. The transformation of global trade is not happening in isolation. It is part of a larger restructuring that is forcing us to question everything we once assumed about international commerce. Economic forecasts from leading financial institutions paint a complex picture, compelling us to confront a fundamental question: what happens when the infrastructure we rely on begins to reveal not just cracks but systemic vulnerabilities? Market analysts are now redefining risk assessments, witnessing the rise of cascading uncertainty, where disruptions in one sector trigger unpredictable ripple effects across seemingly unrelated industries. Major investment banks are revising global growth projections, incorporating an infrastructure vulnerability premium into their models. The geopolitical chessboard is being redrawn in real time, traditional alliances are being tested, and nations are scrambling to secure their trade interests. The emergence of new trade corridors is not merely a logistical shift, it is reshaping diplomatic relationships that have stood for decades. Countries with alternative maritime routes are suddenly finding themselves with unexpected leverage in global negotiations. Perhaps most telling are the conversations unfolding in corporate boardrooms. Companies that once operated on short-term, quarter-by-quarter planning are now developing decade-long contingency strategies. The very concept of supply chain resilience is being redefined, with industry leaders investing billions in route-independent logistics, a fundamental shift away from Panama-centric trade routes that have historically dominated global commerce. The insurance industry adds another layer of complexity. Major underwriters are rewriting risk models, integrating climate change variables and infrastructure vulnerability metrics that could fundamentally reshape maritime economics. Some analysts even predict a complete restructuring of maritime insurance within the next 5 years. The technology sector's response has been particularly fascinating. Silicon Valley is pouring resources into autonomous shipping solutions and alternative transportation technologies. Unprecedented investments are flowing into AI-powered route optimization, experimental cargo vessel designs, and innovations aimed at reducing dependence on traditional canal systems. Yet, beneath these strategic adjustments, a deeper reality emerges: the era of immutable global trade routes is ending. The business world is being forced to confront a future where adaptability is not just an advantage but a necessity for survival. At this crossroads of global commerce, one thing becomes crystal clear: the Panama Canal crisis is not just about a failing waterway, it is about humanity's urgent need to reimagine its relationship with the infrastructure that connects the world. This is no longer simply about cracks in concrete or hidden structural flaws. It is about the fragility of the systems we rely on and how quickly we must reimagine the future to ensure global stability. The real question isn't whether we will adapt, it's how quickly we can transform our approach to sustaining global trade in an increasingly unpredictable world.